Okay, we get started. Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshini Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayini Ambatvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Namostu te Vyasa Vishada Buddhe Pulla Ravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Panaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetam Rudaduhe Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyah Mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So again, we are on the 10th chapter. We are now in the section where Arjuna is requesting Lord Krishna to tell him about all his glories. It's like this, whenever somebody comes and tells us, tell me who you are. This is especially happening now for me here in Chinmay Vishwavidyapeeth, where, we are interviewing so many faculty members for the university. And the first thing, the question always we ask is, tell me who you are. Tell me, what have you studied? What is your education? What are your skills? How are you going to serve our university? So I think in some sense, that's what Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna. He's saying, tell me what are all your glories? But of course, the purpose is very different. Arjuna wants to know all these glories of Krishna because, he is a very Rajasic person. He is not the kind of person who can sit and just meditate upon the absolute nature of the Lord. He has understood, he is, if we saw some of the shlokas before, he has theoretically understood what Krishna's supreme nature is. But what he needs now is some kind of an alambanam or some kind of a support so that he can actually focus his attention, his mind on that alambanam. And therefore, Arjuna is asking for this list of all these glories so that he can choose one according to his own personality. And of course, Krishna is very happy to talk about himself. And even though he's talked about so much before, but in this chapter, he starts to talk about his lower self, right? The Saguna aspect of it. The Nirguna aspect was covered before in the 9th chapter and then in the beginning also. But here he's talking about his Saguna aspect, the lower self. That is the one where, we need a form. We need the form which is devoid of the sentient principle, if you want to say that. So that form is what he is actually looking for. And of course, Krishna goes to describe about those forms of his, and he starts with, of course, the greatest of his forms. And in our reflection, I thought, we can see the connection of it in today's world about how this can actually serve as a way for us in solving issues of mental health, So I kind of put this picture here. Last time I just briefly showed it, but here I'm showing the kind of psychological significance of why this alambanam is very important. The support, because we know that our mind is so fragmented, and especially this happens, and this is more from my own practical experience. I've seen that when I'm tired, and I think for some of you that happens because this lecture is being given at the end of the day, right? So at the end of the day, the mind is tired. The mind is not fresh enough to accept or even ponder upon the various concepts that have been given in Bhagavad Gita, right? So what do we do at that time? When the mind is tired, of course, it goes into areas that we would normally not do during the daytime or whatever. For example, we'll start looking at the phone more number of times than usual, or if it is a question of if you're seeing the Disney Channel or any of those, we tend to see it longer than usual. So we're using all that as a support, correct? A very, very passive support so that the mind doesn't have to think at all. So here, this idea is various glories are given, which can be used as support to focus our mind. And those glories are so, like it's beyond imagination. Last week, we talked about the awestruck nature, So that is the whole point here. So holding on to a support like that, thinking that God is beyond this, God is like the bestest thing that we can think of, it gives a person a security. And therefore, that is what really our philosophy and religion is all about, is that these alambanams, it's starting with the puja vidhi, where each and every aspect of it is nothing but a support, the alambanam, to focus my attention. So with this, it brings even softer values in the mind. And now, we start to bring in values like loving everything, loving all beings, wanting to share things with everyone. And that is the whole idea which this 10th chapter is giving us an exposure. It is a kind of a fundamental training for us to recognize that God is everywhere, Ishvara is everywhere. We covered that last week. And that Ishvara is in the form of everything which is outside me, what I'm seeing outside me. Again, we talked about, for me here in Kerala, as I look out, I see this beautiful mountains, and I see, of course, the waters pouring on, just the beauty, sheer beauty of Kerala. I can see it, and I see that as a glory, which is shown in the 10th chapter. Yeah, go ahead, Geeta.
What is alambanam?
Alambanam. Alambanam means support. Support. Like, for example,
what language is that?
Sanskrit.
Oh, it's Sanskrit. Okay.
Yeah, but Sanskrit, but it is, I think some of you who are here today can also say that even in Tamil, we would use, in some sense, the word alambanam, but of course, it has come from Sanskrit.
Oh, okay. Alambanam?
Alambanam. Yeah, alambanam, we say.
Okay.
Maybe even I should correct myself. I should probably look into the genealogy of this word. I'm just assuming it is in Sanskrit.
Oh, okay.
Have any of you heard this word? Others?
Yes, in Telugu also we call similar alambanam.
Okay.
Is that glory?
Alambanam? No, it means support.
Support. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, for example, I can also say the table is supporting this computer, So the table is an alambanam.
Okay.
A support,
Okay.
So, I guess in the English sense of the word too, right? We're always looking for some support. Correct? So in that sense, and that is why I'm connecting that alambanam to support for mental health, because mental health is all about wanting that support for whom we're going. Like we're going to a therapist because we need the support. So here, the entire 10th chapter, if we understand in its true sense, not only we can eliminate therapists, they're going to lose their jobs, right? But it gives you that tremendous confidence in oneself, tremendous, I think, there is no fear, the fearlessness. You're not afraid of anything, So that's the whole thing that I'm bringing out here. Okay, so that is why this shloka, which we did in 20, aham atma gudakesha sarva bhutascha stitaha aham adishya madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha. The second line, which we had started to do last week, the thing is, he says, just hold on to me. I'm the beginning, I'm the end, I'm the middle, everything. And, I exist supporting this whole world by portion of myself. So I'm that self which is there in the heart of all beings, Bhutanam, So this is kind of a general statement with which, he talks about here. And so it really paints a beautiful picture by Sage Vyasa, where he's showing that I'm at the helm of, here you have Arjuna in the war, in the chariot, and you have Krishna, as the as supporting that chariot and taking him in front. So it's philosophically so inspiring because Krishna in front, when he's in front of Arjuna, he's saying, just leave everything to me, just forget about everything, and then just fight. And in this one, so this one word, Gudakesha, which I think this is the third or fourth time I'm already mentioning this. But the point about it is, Gudakesha, why he's saying is because Arjuna had already conquered his sleep, right? Sleep is referring to ignorance. And the way he conquered that was by first understanding, there's a story about how when it was dark, he was trying to, he was able to observe that he was taking his hand to his mouth without the need of a light. So he thinks to himself, if I can do this without light, where I'm so habituated to take my hand to the mouth, why can't I do my archery like that? So he starts to practice his archery at night and becomes an expert. So the fact that he's become an expert during night time, and night represents ignorance, he has conquered night that way. And that is the idea behind that is, he was able to do that. So here Krishna is reminding him, oh, Gudakesha, you were able to do this. And all these people at the end of the day are actually only in your own dream. You are the one who is created. And that's the other powerful message that I wanted to bring out here is, at the end of the day, this entire world that we exist in is actually a creation of our own minds. Okay. And this creation of our mind is existing in my mind, which when we sleep, comes out in the dream, right? So the dream is actually within my own mind. So Krishna is reminding here Arjuna, saying that, hey, Arjuna, at the end of the day, all these people, they exist in your own mind. What are you afraid of? Just go and, do your duty. So that's the thought behind. So again, I'm connecting it to the mental health part of it. Ultimately, the reason we think we have all these issues is it all exists only in our mind. We can actually capture it. We can actually, we can conquer it. So with that in mind, he finally is, he says at the end of the day, Ishvara is in everything. So with that, how is Ishvara in everything? This is the 70 to 75 glories that are really expressed in the coming shlokas of the 10th chapter. So that is what we have started to see. And in 71 and 21, we actually start to see the first of the few glories, which is, he starts to talk about how these glories are nothing but my own manifestation. And we saw last time this Aditya Nam Aham Vishnu. So he says of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. And Vishnu in this Vaidika tradition basically is one of the Adityas. And who's an Aditya? Aditya are the sons of Aditi. And this is well described in Vishnu Puranam. And in Vishnu Puranam, you see the 12 sons of Aditi, which is being described. And he says, among all these 12 Adityas referring to sons of Aditi, and among these Adityas, I am that Vishnu. And this Vishnu is in the form of this Vamana Rupi, Vamana avatar. I'm that Vamana Rupi Vishnu among Aditi Putras. And again, last time we talked about the importance of Vamana avatar in relation to the Onam festival itself, which is going to start in 2 days' time in, of course, Kerala. And I'm living in this ashram. There's just beautiful pookolams, and the whole atmosphere is just getting ready for celebration of this Onam. The other thing to keep in mind here is the Adityas. They refer to the 12 faces of the sun god, again referring to the 12 months, again referring to the fact that we had this Indian calendar which talks about the 12 months long time ago, which now we attribute it to, the Greeks or the Romans or, whatever the genealogy we are talking about now. But this already existed before. So that is the Adityas. And where do those Adityas fit in among them? So here, the 33 main devatas exist, and among them, the Dwadash Adityas are the 12. And then you have the 11 Rudraha. And these Rudras, and then the Vasus, and then you have, of course, Indra and Prajapati. They all make up these 33 devatas. So that's where the fit of, how they all fit into that scheme of the devatas. Then the next phrase we came across in this word is Jyotisham Ravi Amshuman. And I put this Aditi Hridayam here, in Rashmi Mantam Samadhyantam Devasura Namaskritam Pujayasva Vivasvantam Bhaskaram Bhuvaneshwaram. This is the Aditya Hridayam, which was given by Sage Vasishta, when in Ramayana we see that. Or I'm sorry, not Vasishta, Agastya Rishi. Agastya Rishi gave this and taught Aditya Hridayam to Rama for both material victory as well as spiritual victory. So that is why they say this Aditya Hridayam is a wonderful prayer for even materialistic people for good things, which is basically for health, for getting money, for getting victory in examinations. And children are also taught this. And for spiritual students also, this is very much valuable because, again, it refers to the glory of sun, and sun referring to energy, and sun being the best of all the Adityas. So Jyotisham Ravi Amshuman, so which means that among all the luminaries, Jyotish, which means the luminaries in the sky. And when we talk about all the luminaries, it includes, all the stars, the planets. And of all this, the sun is the bestest of all luminaries. So I am that Ravi. I am that Ravi with brilliant, powerful rays of light. Amshu means Rashmi, Amshuman means Ramshiman, so I am that radiant sun. And we know that now modern physics also admits that sun is the ultimate source of all energy. So naturally, we see that the ultimate self is the source of all energies, and Aditya or the sun is nothing but a representative of that ultimate glories or the vibhutis of that Lord. So this sun is very much glorified in our tradition, as we have seen, of course, in today's world, it is very hard for children to get up. But when we were young, we were always told that we have to get up before the sun rises so that we are there to welcome the sun. And then Marichir Amrutam Asmi. Of the winds, I am Marichi. So in our, again, this Vedic, in our Vedic lore, Maruts are the sons of Rudra. And Rig Veda mentions Marichi as the chief of all these Marutas. And who are the Marutas? The Marutas are actually the presiding deity of everything which is moving, which is like the winds, the breeze, the storms. All these are actually, they are governed by this group of devatas. And these devatas are the Marut Ganas. And in the heaven also, you have all these different types of Ganas, different type of these Marutas. And of these, so he says, Marichir Marutam Masmi. So I am that best of the Marutas also. So then Nakshatranam Aham Shashi. So Shashi refers to the moon. And so of all the asterisms, we say asterisms, I am that moon. Nakshatram. Nakshatram is the word for this asterisms. And so, they say even the root of the moon in the universe is, it represents that glory of the Lord, the vibhuti of the Lord. And this Nakshatranam Ahamasmi is again showing that of all the best of all the nakshatras, I'm the Shashi. So here I just wanted to show this twinkling sky where we have so many different nakshatras. So this is, so the world is basically represented as all these nakshatras, the lights in the sky. And this light is available to anyone. It doesn't matter somebody who's living in a hut or somebody who is living in a palace. This light is available in the night to everybody. So among those, I am that nakshatra. So that covers the, if you look at our shloka back again. So in this shloka 21, he's covered basically all the source of energy, all the source of energy in the night also, which of course, we know that the moon reflects the glory of the sun even in the night. So this is all about the source of energy as in the form of light. Now, in the next shloka, which is a pretty loaded shloka also, I know I had said in the summary that we'll cover up to 25. Let us see how much we can actually do, because 10th chapter, really there is so much to kind of learn about how our philosophy has been translated into day-to-day life and making us aware of all the things which is outside us, which really needs to be paid attention to, But we go through life so fast, just focusing on the basic needs, that we don't have the time to open our eyes and look at the whole glory which is in front of us. And that is why, for me too, going through the 10 chapters like an upasana, something you can meditate upon, something you can ponder, reflect, and recognize, there is so much of beauty out there. So in this 22nd shloka, he talks about many different other things he talks about the source of knowledge. Where is the source of knowledge? What is the best of the source of knowledge? And, the aspect of indriyas, the sense organs, who is the ruler of the sense of the sense organs, and connecting that to the absolute self. But before we go to the next one, I want to ask, do you have any questions on the previous shloka? The shloka 21? Or anything more to add if I missed anything? Okay, so let's move on to shloka 22. We chanted this last time. So Vedanam Sama Vedosmi. This is to say that, we have the ultimate source of knowledge. If you keep tracing back the source of knowledge all the way from where we are today. So today we think about Google as a source of knowledge, right? Or Wikipedia as a source of knowledge, or any of the web pages as a source of knowledge. Actually, I have to go back. I have to go even one step further now, right? Which is, we think ChatGPT is the source of knowledge. And in ChatGPT also now there is so much of refinement. We think that is a source of knowledge. If I keep backtracking each one of those, where do we end up with? If I need to really go to the source, what is that source? And that is the Vedas. So we'll come to, of course, the Vedas part of it. I'm sure all of you know about the Vedas, but we'll talk a little bit more about the technical part of it. But here he says, among the Vedas, I'm the Samaveda. And then he says, among the Devatas. So we talked about the Devatas in the previous shloka about the Marut Ganas. They are also Devatas of the wind and everything. And we know Devatas are they are the ones who govern all our 5 sense organs. There is a Devata for each one of them, because when we pray to that God, I can improve my eyesight, I can improve my hearing, I can improve my breathing, so many different Devatas. So he says, among those Devanam, Asmi Vasavaha. Vasavaha is the other name for Indra. And then Indriyanam Manascha Asmi. Among the senses. So Indriya is referring to all the 5 senses. Who is the ruler of the Indriyas? It is the mind. So I am the Manaha. And then ultimately, Bhutanam Asmi Chetana. I am the life principle among living beings. So here again, I refer to, of course, Swami Chinmayananda's book. He's really explained so well about each one of them, and finally the last one on how we understand what is the life principle and what are we truly referring to here, So that this is where he's talking about. So Vedas. I would like to know from you, what do you know about Vedas? So that way I don't have to repeat what you already know. So can each one of you tell me, how do you understand the Vedas?
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Anand.
Yeah, the Vedas are they're believed to be straight from Brahmaji's face. So that's where the origin. And it was given to many sages, and then being passed on. Yeah, and then Veda Vyasa did the division of the Vedas into Rug Veda, Samveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvana Veda. So again, out of which Samveda is supposed to be poetic, which has a lot of tunes, and that's a belief. And Atharvana Veda is supposed to be with the learning of emanation and that kind of stuff. So that's some brief knowledge.
Very good. Thank you, Anand.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Okay. So, the reason why I also take this a little bit of time for us to ponder upon our rich and absolutely rich heritage of knowledge I mean, we always think that India, used to be so rich country. There's so much of wealth which has gone away and all that, right? But even much more than the material riches was actually this richness of how knowledge was codified, which is where as Anand mentioned, the division and everything. It is about how this body of knowledge originated. So we look at Vedas not necessarily given from Brahmaji or something, but Vedas are considered as the Shrutis. Okay, Shruti, that's where it all starts. In the sense, knowledge is existing. There is knowledge out here. Just like, a simple example is when I turn on the computer and I go to Google, right? I'm able to access that knowledge. That knowledge is already there. All I'm doing is I'm accessing it. So Vedas are also that which is accessed by the rishis who had purified the mind so well that they could actually listen to the Vedas. Okay, so that's why it is called as Shruti. Shruti means that which is heard. And when we say listening, we have covered this portion also before. Listening is not just by the ears. Listening is when the mind is completely clean and clear, when the clarity of thought is there, we can actually hear a lot more. It's like, when you have a group of students listening to a lecture, and after the lecture is over, suppose you tell the students, okay, now I'm going to give you a piece of paper. Can you just write down what you heard? Okay. You will see a variety of notes from the students. Why is that? It is dependent upon the clarity, the listening power of the students, right? So those days, the rishis, they used to do so much of tapas. They, not just the tapas part of it, but the mind was so purified that they could listen to that knowledge. So Vedas are Shrutis. Then what did they do after listening to this? They actually remembered what they heard, and then they actually codified them. And that is why the second step of this one is the smriti, that what is remembered. So what they remembered, then they wrote it. So in our philosophy, that is in our Hindu philosophy, we consider these Vedas as it is not of any human being. So the source of knowledge, when compared to many other religions, for example, we will say, Bible or, Quran or something, those are written by Muhammad or somebody, by a human being. But here we actually consider the Vedas as not written by man. Paurusheya. Paurusheya means by man. It is a Paurusheya. So we say Vedas are a Paurusheya, which means which is not written by man. And it is essentially nothing but revelation of sacred sounds. And they did not even listen. It's not as if this knowledge was translated in the form of like ABCD, some kind of words that way. They were really sacred sounds. And that is why when you learn Sanskrit, and you will see, there is this thing called Maheshwara Sutrani. This Maheshwara Sutrani is nothing but the form of phrases of sounds, and that is how the sounds were heard, and then later they were codified into these texts after what they remembered. So these Vedas actually, of course, there's a lot of controversy on the exact date of the Vedas, but it has been orally transmitted since, they say, almost the second millennium of BCE with the help of elaborate mnemonic techniques. And the mantras, which are the oldest part of the Vedas, are recited in the modern age through the phonology. We call this phonology of semantics. And that's how today also you can recite the Vedas. which is the source of knowledge, which is the most beautiful part of it. In our Chinmay International Foundation also, we have a book of the Vedas, where, of course, it's now written in the form, in Sanskrit, it's been written. So these Vedas are, of course, 4 in number, as Anant mentioned, and these are the Rig, Sama, Yajur. And actually, the Vedas are called as Trayi, there are actually only 3 Vedas. The Atharva Veda came much later, and the Atharva Veda actually is kind of where most of the science and technology you can actually see in Atharva Veda. It is portions taken from all the Vedas is how the Atharvana Veda came about. But otherwise, Vedas typically is only the 3 Vedas, which is Rig, Yajur, and Sama. And why is it that it's Vedanam Sama Vedosmi? If you look at actually what the most important Veda is, it is actually Rig Veda. Okay, Rig Veda is the oldest Veda, and it is the most important. But it is actually the some of the most important samhitas of this Vedas of Rig Veda is in Sama Veda. Okay, that is why it is said that the most important part of Rig Veda is in Sama Veda, and in Sama Veda is nothing but actually where it is said in the form of chants, So among this, like Rig Veda, Yajur is all prose, and Sama Veda is actually in the form of poetry. And some of the very important Upanishads, like Chandogya Upanishad, that is in Samaveda, okay? And there is so much of rhythm, so much of music, and that is why music, we say the origin of music is from Samaveda itself. So that's but why is he bringing this Vedanam Samavedosmi? So he's saying just like how Samaveda is the most glorious, because it contains the important, the essence of Rig Veda. That is why it is called this one, even though Rig Veda is considered to be the most important of the Vedas, most oldest. Just like that, I am also that absolute. So if among Vedas, Samaveda is the best, among everything in the world, among knowledge, even in knowledge, Krishna is saying, I am the essence of knowledge. I am the best of all knowledge. So that is the reference here he's trying to say to this one. So that's the idea which, yeah, go ahead, Geeta. You have a question?
Why is God comparing himself to Samaveda?
Because he's trying to say, I'm the best of the bestest. I'm the essence. Essence, that way.
Okay. He is the best anyway. Why should he make a comparison? I was thinking.
Because in our mind, we all are, what should I say? We always want to know how we are better than somebody, So he's coming to that level. You're right. He can just say, I am. That's it. Even if you say, I am, if I say, I am the sun, correct?
Correct.
Then you will immediately say that, oh, okay, I'm the sun. So who is better than the sun? Then he could have just said, I am. But because now if he says, I am, then he's referring to himself as the nirguna aspect, which is beyond forms and everything, correct?
But even now he's referring to the nirguna aspect, right?
Yes, correct. He is at the highest. So like in 7th chapter and earlier, we had talked about how that Lord is that absolute form as well as the various forms. Everything is Ishvara, everything is God, correct? We said that. Now we are in this portion of the 10th chapter, which is talking about only the forms. So therefore, we are talking about, earlier thing we talked about was all the illuminations part of it, the sun, moon, stars and all that. Now when we're talking about knowledge, then the question always comes is, where does the knowledge come from? So we talked about the Vedas. And then even among the Vedas, the question will always come, why? Because see, until everybody knows that Rig Veda is the oldest. So then everyone will say, okay, if Rig Veda is the oldest, why is it not, isn't it enough if I study the Rig Veda? But Rig Veda is so voluminous. I didn't put that information out here, but Rig Veda has got a lot more verses than everything. But Samaveda takes the essence of the Rig Veda and is chanted in the form of very beautiful chants. There are so many different meters, rhythmic ways in which you can chant the Samaveda. And that is why Samaveda is considered to be important.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
I know it doesn't answer completely, but here, this is, I just found this in one of the websites, which I thought was interesting. According to Patanjali, the Samaveda has shakhas, or you can consider that as kind of a chapter. But right now, there are only 3 shakhas that are known. This is the Kautama, Jaiminya, and Ranayanya. And this Kautama Shakha is known more prominently here. And of course, it's very technical here, what he's trying to say. But what are those? I just thought we need to know a little bit on what does it refer to, the what is Samaveda about, and what are each of the shakas. In this case, they are in praise of Agni. It's in praise of Indra, praise of Soma. So that that's what the Samaveda is all about. I'm sure it would be nice to hear a lecture only on each one of these Vedas, and why should I know this? What is the connection part of it, right? We are so far removed away from discussing about the primordial parts, the sun, moon. I mean, those days people focused only on sun, moon, and also the earth and those things. Today we focus more on things which gives us food, I guess, and right? We have gone far away from it. But it's good to know where we all came from, So then this Devanam Asmi Vasavaha. So I said earlier, Vasavaha refers to Indra. And when we talk about Indra, we are talking about where does Indra live? Indra actually lives in the heavens. And what do we mean by heaven? Is this another place above the clouds or whatever? Not really. It is right here, wherever we are. It's just that it is a place where there is a greater evolution, So somebody, for example, I have given this example before also, and I will say this just as one example. When Geeta took us on this cruise of Alaska, we went in one of the best cruise lines, which was, I remember it was a Princess line, and food galore. 24 hours food is available in 10 or 11 different kind of restaurants. Then there is a big mall right in the cruise, 4 or 5 floors, where you can buy all kinds of jewelry or clothing or anything. So that's probably how heaven would be, correct? Heaven is, the standard of living is the highest, unimaginable, beyond even what we can imagine, which is in this cruise. Until I went into the cruise, I never even imagined that right in the middle of an ocean, you can have, and even the theater which was there. Oh my God, imagine watching something in the theater where you're going in the middle of an ocean. It was so surreal, So heavens is that kind of a place where subtle joys can be expressed. And even there, so what he's trying to say here is Indra is the king of gods, and he gets to enjoy the subtlest of subtle pleasures. So of the devas, I am that Vasavaha. But here, one other connection here is Indriyanam. So I said, Vasava is referring to Indra. And who is Indra? Indra is the king of gods, Devatas. And who are the Devatas? Devatas are the ruling gods of all our senses. Okay. So Indriyanam aham asmi manaha. So what does Indra really represent? King Indra, he represents our mind. So just like how the mind is ruling over our senses. I gave this example in the beginning about how when my mind is very tired, okay, I tend to gravitate towards potato chips or, all these fast foods, those kind of things. At that moment, if I'm very hungry, if I have to open the fridge and there is this box of vegetables versus something which is much more, the tendency is to go towards something which is, not very good for my body, right? So that is not, of course, here the mind controls the senses. So it is important for me to be a controller of the mind, okay? That is what we want to do. But here the reference again is to say that even among the senses, I'm the king, again referring to himself, the consciousness, I'm the best, just like how the mind is, the best here. Mind is a controller, so too, as the consciousness principle, I'm the best. So, and then this last one, which is Bhutanam Asmi Chetana, trying to say that in every living being, of course, I'm that consciousness principle. But the key thing to remember here is, Bhutanam Asmi is referring to the intelligence principle, I mean, I'm the one which is giving that intelligence. It is because of me that like human beings are supposed to be the most intelligent of beings, and the human being at the roof of creation should take care of all the beings, correct? But we see that that is not exactly that what happens in some cases. We are killing other beings to, in the case of eating non-vegetarian food. So we are actually causing a lot of destruction too. But here he's referring that intelligence in me is that I'm the intelligence. I'm the one which gives intelligence to the bestest of the bhutas or the beings. So bhutanam asmi chetana. I am in the form of that very intelligence in all human beings. And today it's important to recognize, when we think about intelligence, how there's so much amount of work that is being done in this area of consciousness research. People are trying to look for that intelligence in that gray matter, saying that this portion of the brain is what is causing that intelligence and everything, which is not true. That intelligence is beyond everything. So this is something that our rishis have already done enough research. And in fact, I remember when I was at Sandipani, our Acharya used to say, there's no point in doing any more research into anything. It is not going to lead you anywhere because every research has already been done by our own rishis. And if we can only study our Vedas and everything, that itself is enough as a purpose of our human life here today. Any thoughts, any questions on this shloka? Because very, very powerful, important shloka, which covers the sources of knowledge, then the aspect of the sense organs, who is a controller, and finally, he's comparing himself to that absolute intelligence which controls even the mind.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Yes, this is, it sounds simple, but it is a very, very, very subtle stanza reference. King Indra, he's up in the heavens, and then when we have to think of him or that Rupa, the subtleness, how does Indra resonate with me? It is the mind. The mind is the king of the body, and mind, where the mind goes, the body goes there. This is a very, very subtle, the mind has to be really alert to grasp that, that's for sure, and take in the absolute essence as to what the Lord is saying over here. That is so, mind has to be clear. It's not easy otherwise.
Yes, I like the reference that you did to the subtlety, referring to King Indra as the subtlest of human beings. And in that sense, mind is the most subtle, which we cannot see. Just like heavens, we cannot see here, we can only imagine, right? So it's a very, very subtle aspect of it. And it is the subtle which is actually controlling the gross, right?
Yes,
And the mind is
yes.
controlling all the sense organs. And I'm glad you were able to catch that subtlety in the shloka. And again, knowledge is also very subtle, right?
Yes.
Can we actually see knowledge? Knowledge can be seen or heard and everything only in the form of the books in which it is written. And again, see the subtlety of this shloka from a point of view by referring to the Vedas. The Vedas are so subtle, which were always heard. In those days, I mean, they never even used books or anything. The printing press,
Yes.
all that came much later. The palm leaf manuscripts came much later. Everything was only heard. If I can develop my mind to that level where I don't need to write down anything, keep it everything in my mind, I can save so many trees. I don't have to cut down. Of course, people don't use trees anymore. It's all a soft copy. But we know that this is the other subtlety we have now. When we have it in the form of a soft copy, we are not able to grasp it. The books are better for us to hold and grasp things. But even the books, because of the fact that we're using paper, is not a good thing. So the idea is we need to go from the subtlety of where we are with internet and computers to the subtlety of using the mind to hold everything.
It is extremely subtle. I mean, it is easy to use the word subtle, but it is so difficult to actually stay in that understanding that mind is what is controlling our senses. We think our senses controls the mind, and like you said, okay, early in the morning, maybe for some time we have control over everything and we think, yes, everything is fine, mind is calm. But as the day progresses, depending on how the day is progressing, that directs the mind's calmness or its agitations. It could be happy, it could be sad. There's something is going on in the mind, which the whole purpose of this subtlety, understanding this, is that there isn't supposed to be any agitation. It needs to be calm throughout the day, no matter the circumstances. Happy, yes, it can be happy. Sad, it can be sad, but it need not identify with the sadness. It need not get carried away by the happiness. But that is not how this understanding doesn't stay very long. That is the problem.
We have fallen quite a lot.
Yes.
That is
yes.
the bottom line is, like we talked about getting up, this Aditya Nam, that shloka reminds us of the fact that I need to get up before the sun rises, to see the sun and to worship the sun as a source of energy, and to be grateful that I have the sun, that I'm able to feel the sun. So if I have to get up early to understand that, then I have to go to sleep early. But who sleeps early these days? Uh, these are all great reminders on how we need to go back to where we are. Only then we'll be able to understand the subtlety of all these shlokas even more. So that's another, and thank you, Suvarna, for pointing that out. That's the subtlety for where we have the potential to go, and we need to strive to go there, even with the amount of short time we have left in our own lives, what we have so far,
Harvam.
Yeah. Anand?
Yeah, again, the other, what is the Vedas came from the word called with is to know.
Mm-hmm.
That is the origin. And also the Shruti, as we're discussing, the one which by listening, that's how the Vedas pass from one person to another. And it reminds me, Swami Chenmayananda, Swami his guru, Tapon Maharaj, he was mentioning that, okay, I'll tell you only once, and you need to grasp it. And I'll ask you again. I mean, if you don't say that, then you have to leave. I mean, it just reminds, like, by the Shruti, like by listening.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, even when you read the commentaries by Adi Shankaracharya, you see how, like, even for example, when we're reading Swami Chinmayananda's commentary, which is based on Adi Shankaracharya's commentary, you have to write a commentary on commentary on commentary for us to come to understand what this Gita is really saying, meaning that the subtlety of the mind of Shankaracharya was so much, so clear that he could jump 10 steps and see the meaning, the truth. Whereas for us, we need to be broken down. And when it is getting broken down, what is happening also is at every step, our mind is grasping it at different levels based upon our mind, and that leads to a lot of misunderstandings.
And the essence is lost.
Essence is lost. So we have to keep on working on improving the quality of our mind, Yeah. Like I said, I really wanted to, each of this Vedanam Samavitosmi is actually quite loaded. Here, the next ones are actually a lot more simpler, but I was hoping we could cover up to 25, 26. Next week for sure, we'll do the 4 shlokas. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So if you can just stay for 1 second, I want to show you something. I'll first stop the recording. Sorry. 1 second. A stop share. Then stop recording.